as I told you, I was sleeping in the kitchen with two other boys, and they were born in the Carpathian in Hungary. So one night they came up and they say, "Wake up, it's a razzia." The razzia means they're checking everybody out. So they came up, they say, "Take out your passports." I said, "Which passport? I don't have any. I might as well sleep." I turned over, pretend I was sleeping. The guy comes up to me, he says, "Wake up. You got to show your passport." So I started the same excuse. I just came to town and all that. But they didn't buy that. They took me, they told me to get dressed. They tied a little string, a leather string around my arm, and they took me in. In the Budapest, in one of the streets there was, in the basement, they had like a jail. They took me in there, and they rounded up quite a few people, the same kind as I was. And they started questioning me, how I got here and how I'm living. Of course, I couldn't give them any name. I didn't even own a name. And I didn't tell them. So they hung me up. They tied my hands behind my back, and they hung me by the ceiling, just enough so I could touch just my toe to the floor. That was it. One guy would stand on one side, hit me here, I fly the other way. The other guy hit me there, I fly back. Meanwhile, I had that real bad sore. I said, "Don't do that, I got sore here." He says, "Well, that's what we want you. We want you to be sore." And then I passed out. They took a pail of cold water, threw on me. I woke up, and they kept questioning me, but they seen they couldn't get nothing out of me. So they took me in jail there. They kept me there. I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks till they gathered up enough people, and they send us up on a train and to send us back to the border, to the Polish border. Meanwhile, the organization, the Partwork organization in Budapest, they were working on it. It took us about 2 days to get to the border. The name was Keresmesse, the border. We stayed there overnight, and on the way to Keresmesse, they brought up 2 people, and they were all both cuffed together. We were sitting on it, and I look at him, and I recognize one guy. He says, "Don't say nothing, you don't know me," because I think he had false papers. But as soon we came to Keresmesse, when the train stopped, they took him off, and I never seen him after that. We stayed in Keresmesse overnight, or maybe a little longer, and then they had an order to take us back, and they took us back to an internal tabor was called Rece. Over there was families, men and women, and kids. The kids usually stayed with the women, and they had a fence in the middle. The man could go over once a day for a half an hour to the fence and talk to his wife, whatever it is. They also had 2 kitchens. One of them was kosher and one of them non-kosher, believe it or not. In the non-kosher, I could have got more to eat, but I wouldn't eat the non-kosher stuff. And then I got a job in this kitchen to work. They had big buckets, like garbage cans outside they got here. Outside they had a pump, where they pumped water. We pumped water, and we carried water to the kitchen. It was 3, 4 guys. That way we got a little extra food. And it was all right. I stayed there for a little while in that camp.
How long did you stay there?
It was about 6 months or 8 months, and then they had more people coming with families. So they took all the people like myself that didn't have no family, and they sent away to Rece. It was a different camp. It was closer to Shatroiha, that was a big city. It was closer to the Czechoslovakia border. Over there, the first camp had only 1 story. This one already had 3-story building. I stayed there for a while. We had bunk beds. We didn't work at all there. I got the job to work in the kitchen because the guy was in charge of the kitchen. He was a Polish officer. He ran away from Poland when they had the war. So the guy that owned the outfit that supplied the food to that camp, he hired him, he worked for him, and he looked after all the supplies and everything. So he hired my friend, the one that lives in the States now. And then I got the job there too to help out the cook. That was pretty good because I could get something to eat.
What kind of a camp was it?
It was called internal camp, where they kept us locked in. They had a Hungarian guard outside watching them. We couldn't. Some people tried to escape. They even went down the sewer and went through the sewer escaping. But the most of the cases, they were not successful. I looked after the pigs because they were growing pigs there for us and everything. But I looked after in the kitchen for a while and cooked for the whole thing. We had a second in a head cook. She didn't belong in there, but she was coming in and she was supervising the cooking. She would sit by the table. You could make 4 rikis from her, big one. She couldn't move. Her hand was that big. And she supervised it. And we had bunk beds upstairs. Now something I never tell nobody, and I never told nobody before, nobody ever knows. We would sleep in the bunk beds, and they brought in young boys, 20, 21, laying beside you in the bunk beds. All of a sudden he wants to play with you, sexual. And you cannot do nothing. You go along with him. Even my wife doesn't know that. I'm still normal. I still like girls. But that's the way it was, and you put up with everything. And you were happy. I had enough to eat because I worked in the kitchen. And we stayed there till May 1944.